Roll that music. All right, so I am going to talk about a few different things. We're gonna run through. We're going to talk about some odds and lines and spread changes. I'm going to talk a little bit about live action, and we'll talk about NFL. We're going to go. There's a couple games that I've been asked to get into, and a couple different random Bovada functions. And I'll just start by saying that there's a handful of people that are new to the group versus last year. So my apologies for speaking in terms that I haven't necessarily explained. So I'm going to break down a couple things, and hopefully that gives everybody some whys behind the way that I word things, and the way that I post things, and just some further explanation. So I'm going to talk first about odds versus point spread and line movements. And, this is now the second week in a row where I've had an early post of a pick. And this isn't, just some fly by night thing. This is when you go into Bovada and you look, when you're looking at the teams, and we'll just take Tampa and the Rams as an example, because that's fresh in my mind. I was just looking at it. But when you look at it, it'll say, I think the spread's 3, but it'll say -3. But then underneath it, it'll show a number, -120. It'll show -115, -105, sometimes +105. If it says even, those are your odds. That's what the wager is actually going to pay you. So -110 is going to return $9 on your 10, or 90 on your 100. When it says -105, it's 95 on your 100, or $9.50 on your 10. If you see even, that's even money, even return on your investment. Now, when I look at that, and you see some lopsided, so if you see something at -120, so we're just gonna, you know what? We'll go to the reason that I posted this week. I posted the Clemson over 28.5 play, and it's at even money right now. So that means that there's so much money bet against it on the other side. On the other side of that, the under was -120. One of two things is going to happen. That 28.5 is going to go to 29, so the spread's going to change, and then the even money is going to go to -110, or it might even go to 29.5, and that even money will go to minus. It'll lower, because all of the action was on the underside of it. So it'll go down to 28, or it'll go down to, it'll shift. So I'm trying to get that before it shifts. And I realize that some of the numbers don't really matter that much. But when you get up into certain dollar amounts, everybody looks at stocks, the difference between even money and -105, well, it's $5 on the 100. That's 5%. That matters. So I'm trying to not only get these numbers right and get a winning play, but I'm also trying to get it for the best price at the right time. So when I saw that number of Clemson over 28.5, and I see it at even money, but I see the other side of it, the under at -120, the odds are about to shift. The payoff is about to shift. Now, if you think that half point makes a difference, then you might belong on the other side of that wager rather than the over, which is where I'm going with it. Now, I'll get into something else. When you go to submit a play, 28.5, you have the option to buy the half a point, to buy it down to 28. Now, what it means by buy it down, so the spread is even money, or the odds are even money. Now, if you buy the half a point, that means that you're now going to get the over 28 rather than over 28.5. But rather than the even money payoff, you had to give up some juice. It's now -120. So you're only going to get $80 or $81 on your 100. What I would encourage everybody to do, if you truly believe that you need to buy the half a point, that 28.5 just isn't good enough, Clemson is not going over 28.5, and you need to buy that half a point, well, I think you might be thinking about the wrong thing. So that's either not the play for you, or you belong on the other side of it. You belong on the underside of it. But buying the half a point is not the right answer. The only time I would buy a half a point is if the odds was, say, +105, +110. I might buy the half a point there, because it's going to bring me down to an even money or a -110. but it's the right picks and the right odds at the right time is every bit as important. It all has to make sense. So when you see me posting early plays, it's because I'm afraid of the odds shifting away. There's more picks coming, but that's not just some fly by night. Hey, take a look at this one. That's going to be one of my picks, but I'm posting it early because I saw it, I broke it down, and it just jumped off the page. Is everybody good on odd changes and things like that? It can be confusing. All right, then we'll move on. Um, I'm going to talk about the NFL. This past week with the NFL was a loser. The week before was a I think we were 3-2. So this has not been the greatest start to the NFL. So what I am planning on doing this week coming up, I'm planning on the NFL going down to half units, and I'm probably going to take a cash out after Saturday before Sunday. It's just an adjustment to the portfolio management that I'm making. For whatever reason, the NFL has been confusing. There's some teams with some moves, and they really haven't established themselves. And the odds and the spread are not changing in ways that are overreacting. So it's these first couple weeks have been very difficult to find Vegas slipping. You can get on Google and check it out, but the top picks in the Westgate, most of your top players are right at 50% right now. And I'll tell you, in the Circa, there's 6 people that are 5-0, and then there's about another 3,000 people. I'm sorry, 10-0. Then there's about another 3,000 people that have won 3 games one week, 4 games the other week, and then everybody's pretty much tied at 500. So those undefeated pickers, they're starting to drop. So it's last year, the Circa competition and the Westgate competition, the winners were 66%. So the difference between 50% and 66% when we're only two weeks into the season, it's not that dramatic. But for the purpose of us protecting ourselves, I'm planning on cashing out Sunday morning, and then laying half units on Sunday. And when I say half units, that's the pressed version, because we are coming off of a winning week. If you played every CFL pick and you played every college pick and you caught some live action winners, we are coming off of a winning week. I believe the total record was 7-5. So that is a winner, and it's actually a pretty nice one. But so I am pressing. So going back to the first few weeks, starting at $10, we went up to $13.50 as the unit. We stayed there, and the calculations have me somewhere around $15.25 being the unit going into this week. So even cutting back to half units, it's still a press on. It's still a little bit of a press on what last week's action was. So that's where I'm going with the NFL. I'm going to post the picks. Some of the live action NFL has been fantastic, but getting into live action, what I will say is, don't be reckless. Like the way that I use live action as a tool is when it's Sunday and we're looking at Sunday's a very mellow day for me. Like Sunday, I am not constantly on the games. I barely watch them on Sunday. I ride the baseline picks, especially when we have the productivity we've had on Saturdays and even on these Friday nights. So I go into Sunday and I'm looking at something just egregious. I'm looking at the Chiefs are down by 10, like they were in week 1. That's worth throwing a half a unit on. But I'm going into Sunday looking to protect everything that we've gained rather than trying to get aggressive. So you go into it for going into Sunday, we were 4-2, plus we had the CFL 2-1. So we were set. We were 6-3 going into Sunday. So at that point, I'm going to probably throw a unit on an in-game play. If I miss it, I'm going to wait at that point to see if something else cashes out to wash away that loss, and then I'll go back for another unit. And if that hits, then I'm probably going to take half of that profit and go back in, unless one of the baselines cashes out before I'm ready to place the next one. And I play Sunday really cautious like that. You guys will see on the Sunday night games, I have close to no comment because I don't even watch the games. Sunday night is the easiest way to lose money. So, but that's really how I'm looking at Sunday in the live action. On Saturday, we've had very productive weeks. So 4-2 week like what we just had, and I think week 1 was 5-1. So those baseline picks get you the winners. I'm not willing to risk going 5-2 when we're already 5-1. We look for things that make absolute sense, but to go 3, 4, 5 plays on one game, and just be chasing it and force a losing week, that's just I'm just not going to play that game on a Saturday. It's a little bit different. Saturday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm Central Time, so 1 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever that means to you on the East Coast, West Coast. But 1 o'clock in the afternoon is very different than the late game on Saturday or the primetime game at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock primetime game, I'm winding it down. I'm looking at that game, and there might, if you have the favorite go down by 10, I might be looking at a money line swing. I might be looking to take points on the favorite, but I'm not really looking at that point. The last thing I want to do is break myself even, or be only up one winner, or even down one, and then I'm forced to bet on the degenerate special, the 11 o'clock at night Hawaii game, and I've had a full game of football or a full day of football, and my judgment is off, and now I'm trying to find a winner on a game that I have no business watching. So those games, those late night games, I will play them if I see them early in the week. USC is a late kickoff this week. USC kicks off, I think, at 9:30 or 9:45. That's one that is very interesting to me. But I don't just on Saturday, all right, I need another game. Let's go. That's a very easy way to lose. So I just kind of went around in circles on that. But does everybody understand how I'm approaching this weekend with the points and the live action and the cut back in units? All right. Then I'm going to talk about the Tampa Bay and the Rams game because I was asked to. Who was it that asked me about that? Was that I think that might have been Elliot saying I'm not going to be on there, but talk about it. So here's the way I see that game. Tampa's got the second to worst run defense and the second to worst run offense in the league right now. And the Tampa also has a really bad pass defense. So when I look at that game, at Tampa giving up 3 points going to the West Coast, that's a real challenge for me to do. Tampa at this point is averaging 27 points allowed per game, while the Rams are only averaging 18. Now, granted, Tampa has played against Matt Ryan and Dak Prescott, and two totally different quarterbacks than what the Rams have played. The Rams have played against Carson Wentz and a little bit of Andy Dalton. So it's very different, but the Rams have had this game circled. And I look at this game very similar fashion that I look at when the Rams played the Patriots, because this Tampa team is just like the Patriots. The only difference is Bruce Arians has a way bigger pair of balls, and he wants Tom Brady to throw the ball down the field at every opportunity. Well, you're not really going to have time to do that. Part of the reason that Tampa's rushing attack is not so great is because there's not enough money left for the O-line. Their O-line is really not that great, and they're going against a very good D-line and linebacking core and secondary. I mean, this Rams defense is very good. Statistically, they're not gaudy, with interceptions and pick sixes like you would think in a flashy defense. But this Rams defense is very scary. I'm not willing to bet against Tom Brady and only get 3 points to do it. But I'm certainly not going to take Tampa on the road, allowing 27 points a game, having a terrible rushing attack. Sony Michel is one of the running backs for the Rams. He is a fantastic running back, and Sean McVay is a really good offensive coach. So I am not this is not the game for me. If I was, gun to the head, must choose, you have to pick this game. And again, this is not one of my picks. If you guys want to watch the game, go ahead. But if I had to pick this game, I would be on the Rams. I would be taking the points, and I would take the Rams. I wouldn't touch Tampa in this spot. They haven't really been challenged this year, and they were challenged a little bit by Dallas, and look what happened. I mean, it came down to some Tom Brady late game heroics. So, boom. And I apologize. I did not post this play, but I am on Hamilton in the CFL, and I wasn't very confident in this game, so I didn't want to post it. But at halftime, there's probably going to be some numbers. But so that was. I mean, that's where I'm. Has anybody got any other questions about the Tampa and the Rams game? I think the Rams have just a variety of receivers, and Matt Stafford is a real quarterback. Like this season, we're going to find out how really good and underrated he's been by playing in Detroit. And he's got a lot of different ways he can attack just a really, really bad, Rams or a bad Tampa secondary. So either way, that's where I sit on that game. So we're going to go Clemson because our friend, I don't even know how to pronounce his screen. Our friend Colin Zan, he questioned when I put that pick up. His question was, does Clemson have an offense? And I'm going to say you're about to find out. This past week, Clemson was in a lightning delay game situation. So that's very disruptive to players. So Dabo they've lost the game this year. He knows that they need to start putting up points to get themselves back into the rankings. This is not the first time Clemson's lost the game early in the season, and this is certainly not the first time that they've had to make a run at the playoffs. DJ has not played very well at quarterback for Clemson. What you're seeing right now, Clemson, the quarterbacks that are on the field the Clemson roster that's on the field right now is upperclassmen. This is the number 10 and number 7 recruiting class. The 2020 and 2021 recruiting class. So 2021, these are freshmen, not necessarily starting. Some of them are redshirted, and they're not going to play until next year, so they can save their eligibility. The 2020 class, one of them was number 5 and one of them was number 3 in the country. But what you're seeing on the field right now is upperclassmen is the number 7 and the number 10 class in the country. That's still pretty incredible. But that's a step down from the Clemson teams that you've seen on the field these last couple of years. I mean, look around the NFL. I mean, their best running back, arguably the best in the country. Their quarterback, I mean, they're both playing for Jacksonville. 2 years ago was T. Higgins. He's now catching passes from Joe Burrow in the NFL. So it just takes time. But what happened last week with Clemson and how low of the amount of points they've been scoring. That's why you read the lines. I mean, that's a gift for us. The gift we had last week was the LSU one. LSU had that loss to UCLA. I'm immediately looking at LSU after something like that. Last week when Clemson did what they did, I'm immediately looking at Clemson to see what those numbers are going to be. And oh my God, a year ago, if I would have told you Clemson was over under team total was 28. Going against NC State, God, I would be so angry with myself for not taking that number. Clemson's capable of scoring 28 in the first half. We all know it, and they know that they have to score the points. So I'm not going to bang that drum anymore. Our friend Colin, you don't have to take the play. I am not in this thing to be the guy that can make the best picks. You can knock on the door of any Karen in the suburbs and she could give you winning picks. That's not really my main goal here. I want everybody to see the logic and how I come up with these answers and have a portfolio management strategy. And like I said, I looked at that Clemson number because of how little they scored, and they have been scoring, and it just seems like a gift. Clemson scores 40 points. They score 35 points a game. They score 50. Like, they hang those kind of numbers. Take a look at what they did last year. And, look at the last 10 years with Dabo Swinney. I could tell you all of the quarterbacks that he's had and they've all been fantastic. Trevor Lawrence is the best of them, but you go right before Trevor Lawrence, Kelly Bryant. You go right before Kelly Bryant, they got benched for Trevor Lawrence. And you go to Taj Boyd. I think Taj Boyd was best out of all of them. So it's just rinse repeat with them. It's just going to take them a second to get going, and they're not necessarily playing teams to where they have to score that much. So that's my rant about Clemson and why I looked there. I'll go to another game, and this one is going to happen on Friday night. I am looking very much so, and I'm saying that because I don't know. I might need a little bit more breakdown before Saturday to post them. I'm going to post the NFLs probably tomorrow or Friday morning, but I'm sorry, this is tomorrow night. I'm looking at tomorrow night's game, and I'm looking at Marshall, and I'm really surprised that with Marshall, it's the defense that's doing so well for them. But Marshall lost last week in a close game, but what I'm looking at with them is the first half over 10.5. I think that's a safe play, and then that's probably where I'm going to stay for a minute. I think that they're easily going to score 10.5 in the first half just because of what their defense can do. And then App State typically kicks in the second half, but I don't really have a feeling about the over 59. That number doesn't matter to me, but I am watching the game line, and I'm looking for the hook. And I realized what I said earlier. I think Marshall has a shot at winning the game. But if I'm going to take points as a dog, I want the most that I can possibly get. So I'm still not sold on taking the game. But what I do like there is the over Marshall for the first half. I don't, again, I may play it at the 7, but I'm just going to wait and see if I can get the hook too. No money line play, not necessary. I'd rather take the points and be protected. And that's what I'm looking at. And I'll tell you the other one that I'm looking at. For Friday night, and I'm not 100% there. I'm just going to let everybody know I'm looking at it. I'm looking at UNLV against Fresno State. Fresno State's coming off a game where they beat UCLA. I mean, that was kind of a freak thing. So now you look at it. Now you look at what the spread is doing, and this is a good example of you go high low, all the emotion that went into a game like UCLA. 30.5 points. You just say that number. That's 31 points they need to have. 31 points. And you to yourself, you can start to name the teams that you're comfortable covering 30.5 points. How many teams deep do you have to go before you get to Fresno State? I don't even know that I would ever put Fresno State in that conversation. Like, I don't know that I'm laying 31 in Alabama. You go Texas A&M, Clemson, Ole Miss. There's just not a lot of teams that I'm comfortable laying 31 points on. Now, when I look at UCLA, they got a new quarterback. They got a new quarterback that's in. He's a fifth-year senior. He's played for 3 different programs. He's a dual threat. At one point, he was one of the best in the nation. I don't think UNLV is a good football team at all, but Tate Martell is a legitimate quarterback that has a shitty attitude, which is the only reason he doesn't want to work for it. That's why he left Ohio State. That's why he left Miami. He doesn't want to be a backup. He doesn't want to hold the clipboard. He doesn't want to do the things that you need to do in order to work your way into a starting job. But he's starting for UNLV, and he's got a pair of legs, and he's got a cannon of an arm. And Vegas is his hometown. He went to Bishop Gorman, and I think that they're going to lose the game. Fresno State's going to win, but 31 points, I don't know. I look for things like that when I'm looking at numbers. How many teams would you be comfortable taking laying 31 points? And Fresno State's just simply not one of them. And they are a good team, and they did just play UCLA tough, but UCLA doesn't have much defense, and that's where I sit with that one. When I post the picks later, I may post that one, but you guys that are listening and whoever records it, you can hear that that's a game of interest for me, at least as of right now. I'm not quite sold, and that's another one where it's 30.5 right now. It may shift, and we might get another half a point. The half a point doesn't really make or break it for me, but I want to see how much we can get. In fact, I'm going to pull it up right now because I want to see the odds. I saw Lou just joined us. Welcome to the show, my friend. So it's that Fresno State UNLV. It's minus 110 on both sides. So there's no true lopsided action that's going to cause a shift. If you look, the Marshall and the App State game that I was just talking about, the majority of the actions on App State, it's minus 115, and Marshall is minus 105. These Thursday night, non-major programs, the action is going to shift. There's going to be more action closer to game time. So if we're going to get a half a point or an even money play or something like that, we're going to end up getting it much closer to kickoff. But this Marshall over first half, the public is completely hammering it. The first quarter is not a bad one to look at either. But again, I'm going to go into one of them. If it cashes, that's why I pick first half on Thursday nights. Pick first half or first quarter, because if it cashes, we could jump right back in for a half a unit and then get the hell out of the game, and then take it into the weekend. And, all right. If nobody has anything for me, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Central Time, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Sports Betting Weekly. I will tell you, John is completely unstoppable when it comes to things. Last night, he texted me 2 baseball plays, and he's one of the very few guys that I will just blindly play his plays when it comes to baseball or basketball. And his plays last night were both dogs. He had Blue Jays, he had Giants. Both of them money line, both of them cash. And that guy, and he's where we sit right now. He's above 500 in the Circa. Him and I keep joking around that we're going to both finish first and second. But Andrew, what you got?
As far as baseball, White Sox on the road, 500 team can be plus money almost every time.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know anything about baseball. It's just, I understand how the game's played, and I like to go to games, but just my summers are completely consumed by work. So any breakdown I'm going to do it's just not going to work. So, all right. Well, I'm going to get some picks posted. And I think that's it. The other thing, somebody asked me last week about the Circa. When I post a pick that says Circa, that is a pick that I'm entering into the Circa competition that I'm involved in. It is a world championship for handicapping. So I post the picks, and I'll post a couple picks that I am playing in the Circa. Understand, I have no cash on those games. The only cash I have was the entry fee for the contest. So these are not plays. They're Circa plays, and there's some strategy involved in it. It's a smart move to find a winner that nobody else is thinking about. Like last week, John from GMF Sports, he had the Raiders. He took the Raiders, and he was like one of 40 people that took the Raiders. The remainder of the 1,200 people that took that game were on the other side of it. So there's some strategy involved in it. So understand, if I was just wagering games and I wasn't in a contest, I would have absolutely no money on those games that I'm posting that are Circa. I'm posting them because I want you guys to see some of the other stuff that I'm doing, because you might be interested in those games. And but there's just some strategy to it in order to win the competition. If I'm going to win the games that everybody else is winning, I'll probably lose the games that everybody else is losing, and that's kind of where it is. So I will tell everybody to have a fantastic week, and let me know if you need anything.